Hello, welcome to lesson 18 Types of Methods in C Sharp, brought to you by Ankpro Technologies. My name is Harish. In this session, we are going to learn what are the different types of methods in C Sharp. Here, methods are categorized into four divisions based on who define it, based on the parameters and the return types, based on the parameters, and based on access. Right now, in this session, we'll learn the two types of categories. One is based on the method access and based on the parameters and the return type. First, we'll learn how methods are categorized on based on method access. Here, based on method access falls under two categories. One is static method and instance method. Right now, we'll explore what is static method and instance method in the Visual Studio. Here, I have created a console project named as type of methods, and here we'll see how methods are classified based on the access. That is, it has two categories in it. One is static method and the instance method. Right now we'll explore both of them. Now I'll create still now what we are done, we are writing the code inside this main method. Now the different thing we'll do here is we ourselves will write a method, then we'll call that method in the main method. Now I'll use public access modifier, then I'll use void. My target of this method, what I'm creating, is to print even numbers. So I'll take the method name as even numbers, and once I'm done with that, my method is created, and this method name is even numbers, and it is not returning anything since it is void and the access modifier is public. Now if it want to return even numbers, I should have a starting initializing point. I'll take it as 0, and I'll use while loop to do that work. I'll use while loop to print the even numbers. While start less than or equal to 20, print me even numbers, and if it want to print the even numbers, it has to increment by 2 every time when it runs through the loop. Start is equal to start plus 2. Now my method is ready. This is the method which will print the even numbers. Once I have done with my method, my target is I have to call this method in this main method. How do I call? Since the difference between this method and this main method is, one difference is it does not contain the access modifier public. I'll just add it, and it is having static keyword and it does not have static. Keep in mind, any method having the static keyword is called a static method. Any method which does not have the static keyword is called an instance method. Now this is an instance method. How do I call instance method in the main method? We can call instance method in the main method by creating the instance of the class program. How do I do that? I'll create an object of the class program. Then once I'm having I'll create an object. Now once I'm using the new keyword, it creates an object called P. Now program. Now using this object P, I can access this method, even number method. Even number. Sorry, I had to use P dot even numbers. This is the method. This is how we'll access the instance method in the static method. But before going this, I'll just erase these things out. We'll try to access this method directly in this main method. How do I do that? I'll just ask even numbers. Now when I do this, it will tell an object reference is required for a non-static field. So now comes the existence of an object. It means that if I want to access this instance method, then I have to create the object of this class where it is lying. So I'll create an object program P equals new keyword and program p dot. When I use p dot, that method is accessible inside the main method. This is how we'll access the instance method. Now when I run the program, it has to print the even numbers, that is 0 to 20. It has printed the output from 0 to 20 as expected. You can observe. Now we learned how to access the instance method. Instance method is accessed by creating the instance of a class for where the method is lying. Okay. Now if I make this method a static, how do I access this static method here? When I made a static, it is throwing a compile time error telling that member program.evenNumbers method cannot be accessed with an instance reference. Qualify it with a type name instead. It means that when I made it static, this can't be accessed here using the instance of the class. At that time, what we have to do, static method can be called by a class name itself. So I'll use the class name dot. When I use dot operator, it will give me even numbers method. This is how you will access a static method. Now when I in this program, as usually it's expected, it printed me the even numbers till 20. This is the difference between the static and the instance members. And finally we learned how the methods are categorized based on access, that is on based on static and the instance. Now we'll jump back into presentation. We'll move into next slide. Based on parameters and the return type, it has four categories in it. First is without parameter and without return type. We'll explore the first one, that is without parameter and without return type. For example, void print, we will use this method only. I'll just erase these things out. Let's wait for that. Okay, this is the console template. Here what I'm trying to do here is I'll also remove this unnecessary usings. Now we'll jump back into presentation. Here the first category which comes under based on parameters and return type is without parameter and without return type. It means that the method will be not having any parameter and any return type. It means that public without parameter without return type, we have to use void which will not return anything, and the method is method name I have used here is print. So I'll use print here only. Print. Okay. Now I have to console.writeLine. I'll print Ankpro Technologies. Once I'm done with this, you can observe this is the method without parameter, and without return type. Void does not return anything, and it is does not having any return type. Now how do I call this method? It's very simple. Just call that method in the main method. This is how we call a method. Now once I'm done with this, it is telling an object reference is required for the non-static field method or okay. Now I'll make this method a static. It's not a problem. You can observe here, once I made it static, that method can be accessed in the main method. But the thing is not static. You should observe here, this method is not having any parameters and any return type. It's using void, does not return anything. So this is an example for a method which does not have any parameter and return type. When I run this program, it will provide me output as Ankpro Technologies. Now we learned one thing, that is without parameter and without return type, and the second one is without parameter and with return type. It means that with parameter, I'll just erase these things out. Now with parameter and without return sorry, it is without parameter and with return type. Without parameter Now here I'm having a method which is having with return type and no parameters. That is the difference between the previous and this one. Here we are having no parameters but the return type is present. Now how do I access this method in the main method? Just by calling the name of the method we can access it. Now once I'm done with this, I press Ctrl F5. Sorry, I have to print this method. Okay, it's returning Ankpro technologies, but I'm not printing that method. So what I will do is I'll use console.writeLine and Control X and Control V. Now when I run the program, it provides me output as expected Ankpro technologies. It means that here I'm showing a demo on the method which is having return type and no parameter. Now we'll learn the third one, that is with parameter and without return type. With parameter and without return type. I'll erase these things out. This too. With parameter and without return type, that is I'll take string variable as okay. When I call this method here print, the thing is it is asking me to enter a parameter of type string. I'll enter it as Ankpro I'll assign it this method to a variable, so I'll take string s is equal to, I'm assigning this entire method to a variable void to string. Okay, it's working fine. I'm printing it here only, there is no necessary of printing here. So when I call this method, it will print the statement called Ankpro technologies. When I run this, okay, it's printed as expected, but this method is an example for parameter method with parameter and without return type. Okay, now we'll learn the fourth one, that is with parameter and with return type. How do I do that? With parameter and with return type. Here I'll just erase these things out very quickly. With parameter string now static. Now I have to return some value, return now I want to call this method just for a while. I'll just pass this. Now I want to pass values here. Ankpro technologies, and sorry, I have to place it outside. I'll assign this to a variable. Now I'll print that variable. Yes. Now you can observe here this method is having a return type and also the parameter. This is an example for. Now I'll run this program first. Okay, Ankpro technologies. Here in this session, and this based on parameters return type, we'll learn the four categories. First is without parameter and without return type, means it will be just not having a return type but also not a parameter, and without parameter and with return type, with parameter and without return type, with parameter and with return type. Now, in this session we learned two categories of methods. One is based on method access and based on parameters and return type. We'll learn the rest too in the coming session. Thank you. Have a great day. Please subscribe to Ankpro training below.